Okay, so let's pick up. You went to the hospital. You like don't ever want to go back to the hospital again, but we're in COVID, so you've been kind of like scoping out the midwives.
Yes. So, thing is, home birth is very, to me at least, it's very taboo. I
Mhm.
never really, I mean, when you look at TV and everything is, you go to the hospital. Like, you go
Yep.
to the hospital to have a baby. Like, nobody ever talks about home births and stuff. And I don't even know how I, don't- so being military, a lot of things are different for us.
For sure.
And we have a different set of whole rules that we're supposed to follow, and we
Mm.
don't get to choose who we get seen by and stuff like that
Wow.
without basically it's like if you choose not to go to the military facility, they want you to pay out of pocket unless it's deemed an emergency and all of that stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's just not how you envision
Yeah.
your pregnancy. And then with COVID, I think the thing that really got me to thinking about it is because you got some places they're not allowing the laboring mother to have any visitors.
Yeah. That's
Then
tough.
you have some that are allowing one, whereas in my case, I want my husband to be there as well as my doula,
Hmm.
and they're just like, no, you gotta choose. And
It's
it's
like
just like, oh, and then no. Another thing, they want you to labor with a mask on. I can barely breathe now.
this baby taking all my lungs right now. Like,
Yes,
girl, people don't understand that pregnancy breathing is tough.
yes.
Tough.
So I just kind of have been trying to, I don't know, I just do my research and just find out about it. But again,
Mm.
like it's like prepping your, I knew going into whether I was going to give birth, whether I'm giving birth at a hospital or not, I know I wanted to have a natural birth. I do
Yeah.
not like the thought of an epidural at all or
Yeah.
whatnot. And I did have I think I was about 18 weeks at the time. And I started having contractions. This is my first pregnancy. I have no idea. Well, I didn't at the time.
You're
know
like,
what
what is going on?
know what contractions feel like. But once we got everything checked out and everything, they're like, yeah, your contractions are every 2 minutes. And so, but while I was at home before I actually went in, the only thing that helped soothe me was sitting in the tub.
Hmm.
And so once I realized that, okay, well, and my doula, she was just like, just imagine now that you know what contractions feel like, you
Hmm.
can now prep yourself on what to do during them that
Yeah.
will help you relax more. And another thing that I like about just being home, because I always said that I would labor at home as long as possible
Yeah.
anyway, is being able to labor in whatever position that I want by
Yeah.
being confined to a bed.
Huge. Yep.
So I just been trying to do my research and talk to people who have like it's like what made you decide that you know what I'm gonna get a midwife, I'm gonna hire, I'm gonna have my baby at home, but it's like becoming more and more popular,
Hmm.
you know. And I had a friend, she gave birth about 2 weeks ago, and she said she labored at home as long as possible. She said when she got to the hospital, she didn't know it, but she was already 10 centimeters. So it was time to push. But she said the environment just immediately
Yeah.
changed. And so she's like, sis, I know you don't really the thought of having to pay out of pocket when you have insurance. She's like, but don't put a price on it.
That's
She's
real.
like, I would not go to the hospital. Like everyone is just telling me, like, don't do it. And then I've been praying about it. I'm like, God, send me a sign.
Yeah.
And so I had a dream that I had my baby at home, and it was like, I'm like, I mean, essentially almost painless. And I was just like,
Mhm.
is this the sign, God? I was like, God, can you come? Can you send me
Give me
one more?
another one. One more. One more.
Yes.
Right? No, that's dope. So you asked why I chose to have my baby at home. A lot of the reasons that you already said. So, um, I'm really in like I get really like focused. When I get focused on something, I'm like research, research, research. So I had like even before I was married, I had kind of already decided like I ain't going to hospital, whatever, whatever. A lot of different reasons. One is that, traditionally, like Black women are not trusted the same in hospitals. We are not heard, we're not listened to. Um, And when I thought about my birth experience, I really did not want to have an experience where I was scared that something was going to happen because people didn't believe me. Like I didn't even want to like be thinking that. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm trying to have a baby. I'm not trying to like think about saving my life at the same time.
Right.
My husband also is a G, you know, and I knew that like if we were in a hospital and like I wasn't listened to or things were not well, I didn't want to put him in the position to have to be like a doctor and you know, I didn't want him to feel like he couldn't just enjoy the experience of our baby coming and have to
Yeah.
like be my advocate, which he always is, but I thought about that. I thought about me and my personality. Like I don't like a lot of ruckus. I don't like a lot of in and out. I don't like hustle and bustle. That's not my personality. I don't thrive in that type of environment. And so when I thought about the hospital, when I thought about nurses changing over and different personalities of different people I didn't know, it just wasn't appealing to me.
Mhm.
And then when I looked at a lot of research, I did a lot of research. You know, when I looked at you know, having a natural birth, you know, contrary to people's belief, actually speeds up the birthing process, right? When I looked at, you know, I likened it to like when I'm on my cycle, like what I like to do when I'm on my cycle, right? And a lot of times, like I want to curl up and then I want to walk. I knew that I like to do different things, and I wouldn't have that freedom in a hospital beyond
Yeah.
walking, right? Then scientifically, I'm like, okay, well, I looked at a lot of different things and I'm like, this makes so much sense. Gravity, right? Like letting my body work with gravity. If I'm
Yeah.
laying on a bed sloping, then my body is not helping me, but my body was really made to do this. And so for me, honestly, Sierra, it became more of a faith decision than anything else. Cause I was like, okay, listen, like all these things are true. And I want to say this, like I am totally like I am pro-choice about how women birth because I think you've got to do what makes you the absolute most comfortable.
Correct.
When it came down to it for me, I'm like I want to have a peaceful and fun experience, and that
Yeah.
was taboo because I ain't never heard nobody say that like birth was fun. But I'm like, I know I can have that because I can think about it. Like I can think about laughing, and I can think about, and I was like I can have it. So I just started praying about it, girl. I was like, all right, Lord, like you give me this vision of peaceful fun. Like I ain't never heard nobody having it like that, but like I know that like you're the God of everything and you control everything. And you know, and I the only reason I would have went to the hospital is because I was scared. And I'm like, I don't make decisions scared. Like that's not even who God has
Yeah.
called me to be, you know? So I'm like, if I'm scared, then that's not the right response. And so I'm like, if I take fear out of it, then what would I do? You know?
That's a good way to look at it because I think now the only thing that's holding me back from really like, I guess, making decisions like I'm scared, like, can I really do this? But like you say, it's like we were made to do this, you
Yeah.
know? And I know my husband, we were talking a couple days ago, and he was like, you know, I just want you to focus on labor. Going
Mhm.
into the hospital, we're worried about, well, we don't trust these people. And like you
Yeah.
say, shift changes and you just get whoever's on call that night.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, it's already just like, it's just, it's not a peaceful environment.
Yeah.
So,
It can be a lot. I think too, like the benefit of once we made the decision, because my husband was not on board at first, like at all. He was like, nah, we're going to the hospital because if something happens, like he was so nervous, he was so fearful. He's like, I love you, like I don't want nothing to happen to you. Like I can't live with that was really what he
yeah,
was. And I was like, I get it. I was like, and this is why we need to be prayerful, right? Like, because again, this is God's thing. And really, one of the things that I've realized now is that we don't talk about faith enough in the birthing process, right? We talk about faith when it comes to everything else, buying a house, getting married, but like we don't extend it to this space. And it's really like, okay, God, like you literally one of your commandments is to be fruitful and to multiply. So you
mhm,
really want this for me, right?
yeah,
And so like to believe that like, oh, you actually care about me and this baby far more than I even care about me and this baby. And so like you really can handle this. And so we prayed and we met with a midwife. So it was two midwives. fell in love with them. They are
Mhm.
now like two of my really good friends. Fell in love with them. One of the other real benefits of having a midwife was like they know me, and they had time to get to know me.
Mhm.
And like even though you're further along, like you got several weeks where you can talk and communicate with someone. So what was really cool was during my birthing experience, like they knew me, Sierra, and
Yeah.
so like they knew. Um, it's man, it was so cool. Like they didn't press, and I didn't press because they knew that I would do what I needed to do. And
Mhm.
so a lot of the time we were like joking and laughing and playing and talking. And when it came down, I didn't even get my cervix checked until the baby's head was like right there. Like I didn't get my
Wow.
cervix checked the entire time because they knew I didn't want that. And we had talked about it. I said, hey, I don't want to get my cervix checked. I want to feel this happen, and I want to let my body do what it's going to do, period.
Yeah.
And so, and they respected that. They were like, nope, you good. We trust you. Like, and that's what we want for you. So like even having almost my friends like deliver my baby was
Yeah.
just so special to me. Our doula, amazing, same thing. Like she knew me, she listened to me. She's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't want to do this. And she was like, okay, well, we won't do it. It was just a
Yeah.
very different. And then there was a time where she was like, I want you to sit on the toilet this way. I was like, I don't want to. She was like, Catherine, sit down. And so again, like
Yeah.
having that was just amazing. And one of the things you said, and maybe this is your second point of confirmation. I don't know. But you said, talking about a painless birth. I had a painless birth, Sierra. Like,
Read your
it was
post and
amazing,
you told me how you prayed about it and all this stuff. And
girl.
that's I was like, man, and I'm like, things are a lot different. Of course, you see so many things on social media, but when
Yeah.
you know the person, and that's when, like I say, it's been a while. Like because we had messaged a
Yeah, it was a while
long
ago.
ago, whatnot. And so again, it was just like I was on the fence, and I was like, Catherine, I was like, she is real as it gets. Like it's not, you know.
You know I ain't gonna be lying to you, girl.
Yeah. So, and it's just like, I know that it's possible, but one thing, so when I went to the hospital
Mhm.
this past Sunday, so when they got me in there, they essentially like rolled me up against the wall. And at this point, I'm like, I'm 8 months pregnant. You would
Yeah,
think that the focus is all right. Let's make sure this baby is okay.
yeah,
They just roll me up against the wall. I'm laying on my back. It's already hard to breathe, so I'm trying to roll on my side, but
yeah,
I'm strapped down. And then, um, once they get me up to labor and delivery, first it was a hassle because my husband, he ended up meeting me there. And I did hear one of the nurses trying to fight for me. She's like, she's 8 months pregnant. It's only right that her husband joins her. You
yeah,
know, if we send her up to labor and delivery, they allow one person. So this shouldn't be any different.
yeah,
But so we get up there and stuff. They're like, well, you're going to have to take the COVID test. Now, mind you, hell,
mhm,
I've been quarantined for months now, working from home. So
yeah,
I know that I'm negative. But again, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I got to thinking, I'm like, so if I refuse this test, are you guys not going to treat me? You
mm,
know? And then I asked the nurse, I said, do you all get tested? And she said, no, they said it's a waste of resources. And
mm,
that even if they have symptoms, because there's a shortage of nurses, they still have to come in. Who wants to be in that type of environment when
wow,
you have a nurse actually telling you, like, hey, this is what it is, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I'm just like, but one thing that I like about, so the midwife, because I did a tour at a birthing center,
mhm, mhm,
and so I'm like, well, if we're gonna do it here, we might as well just do it at home, like, you
yeah,
know. And
yeah,
so that's how all this is on the table. But I know my doula has, she's worked with this midwife several times before, but I
nice,
love like the vibes that I got from the midwife and just extremely down to earth and like they listen to, I think a
yeah,
big portion is that listening piece and them taking what you say and okay, this is what you want, we're going to do what it is that you want,
yeah,
obviously as long as baby is safe and sound or whatnot. But again, you don't get that in the hospital. I know I asked the hospital, because with COVID going on, they're trying to get you out in 24 hours. I said, well, I know I want to walk around. I don't want to essentially be on a bed or whatever until it's time to push. So I
Yeah.
asked the hospital, I said, how long do I have before you guys deem me failure to progress before
Yeah.
you're trying to send me off to the OR to do a cesarean?
Yeah.
These are all questions that I
That's a good
had.
question. Yeah.
So I really, like I say, I never imagined that I would be thinking about a home birth, but
Yeah.
it seems like this is where we are. I have the paperwork and everything. Me and my husband will probably look at it. We'll probably go over it tonight and
Yeah.
stuff. But the good thing, I hired my doula very early on
That's good.
though. So
What can I tell you about the experience that could kind of ease your mind or your curiosity?
um like what did your environment look like to you, and how did you set up, like, because my homework that my doula gave me, she was like, I want you to envision your, like, how do
Mhm.
you want your birth, like,
Yep.
and so I picked the location like downstairs in my house because I figured that would be easier, and I know that I wanted to do a water birth.
Yeah.
I've recently been playing around with some different essential oils and stuff just to kind of like set the
Set
mood,
the
I guess,
mood.
and things like that.
Yep.
But did you have any outside of your doula, your midwives, and your husband? Did you have anyone else that there?
I did. So I had a photographer. And my midwives, so I had two midwives, and then they had an assistant.
Okay.
And so it was all of us. I did have the photographer. So my environment, honestly, what I envisioned and what it was a slight bit different, but not huge. So I wanted to have a wider birth. That was kind of always the plan. But then when my birthing time started and my waves started to come, I found myself not being comfortable in the water, which is actually contrary to a lot of other people. Like, because when we first got started, my midwife was like, grab some wine, get in the water, relax, whatever. But once I got in the water, I was like, I don't want to be in the water. So I actually, I kind of like paced and walked a lot, and leaned a lot.
Mhm.
But my lights were low in my room. My husband said we have a couch in our bedroom. And our bedroom and our master bathroom are obviously connected. And so,
Mhm.
like, I walked, sort of around, like back and forth. At one point, me and my husband got in the shower together, just to help the oxytocin flow.
Yeah.
I did squats next to the shower. Our bed is really high, so the intent at some point was to get on the bed. But I was like, it's too high. I don't want to open my legs that wide. It's too much. And so I actually ended up having baby on the floor. But we were prepared for that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're prepared. But yeah, the environment was so good. So I did all the things you're doing. So I got my essential oils, which I actually ended up not using. Whatever. I made a playlist, which I only used for a little bit. I did
Mhm.
use it at the beginning. It was really good though to get me in the right mind frame. Um, I'm kind of like, all right, God, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like to get me set. And then at some point I was like, I'm tired of hearing music. Let's just, we would chat and then my waves would come and I would stop chatting. Then we would chat again. We find my waves would come, be like, hold up. And okay, back chatting again. I mean, so it was very fluid, I would say, as a process. And I think you hit on it earlier. The biggest advice I have for anyone is to prepare your mental space, and to be thoughtful. I actually, I share with you, girl, I created, because I told you my anxiety was really rough in the beginning. So I actually created some truths cards and some affirmation cards for myself that now I sell because so many people wanted some. Because what you say to yourself in this process, in my personal opinion, is 70% of the battle. So, I mean, my personal opinion, like, I was so, and I didn't even include all the cards I put in there because people thought I was crazy. I told people, I was like, I'm gonna have a painless birth. I'm not gonna have any complications. It's gonna be fun. I said those things and people were like, okay, girl. Like, and I remember somebody was like, okay, well, I'll pray that you have this little pain. I said, no, 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 none. That is what I'm telling you. I'm going to have, like, and it's almost one of those things here where people will think you're crazy until it happens, right? Like where people will be like, oh,
Until it's done, like you say.
yeah, it's like, but I think this was, again, this was, and I don't accredit myself for any of this. It was kind of like, God, like, you are my God. Like, I trust you. I'm putting this fully in your hands. Like, the scripture says, that we believe, but like, Lord, help me with my unbelief. And so a lot of that was like, Lord, help me with the parts of me that doesn't believe. And I'll tell you, like, I don't want to paint this picture of like, oh, holy, holy the whole time. No. Like, even the week of the birth, I didn't know at the time, but like the week I was doubting, I was like, maybe I am crazy for thinking I can have a painless birth, or maybe like it will hurt, but it'll be fine because the baby gonna be pretty. You know what I mean? Like, you go through all of that. But as soon as those things would come, like one of the truth cards I have, it says, I quiet the noise of, and it's a blank. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I quiet the noise of doubt. Like, I quiet the noise of even centering myself in this experience when this is God's thing. This is not even
Yeah.
my thing. So, like, just being thoughtful about how am I preparing my heart and mind. So I didn't even use the cards during birth. I didn't need to, though, because I had already done the mental work.
Yeah.
The other thing too is even changing the words we say, friend. Like, I did not use the word labor because that sounds hard. Like, labor doesn't sound fun, And so I
Yeah.
use like birthing, like my birthing times, like when it's time for me to give birth. Like, I told my midwife, I told my doula, I told my husband, I'm like, here are the words that are not on the list for use. Like, we're not using labor, we're not using contractions, we're not using hard, we're not using pain. These are words we're not going to use. And they were all like, all right, we're not using them.
That
And
is so awesome. That
yeah, and
is
like changing that changes it change because your mind is powerful. And so it changes what your mind then conceives. So like you heard me say waves.
mm-hmm.
And so if you think about, like, I'm a water baby, I'm a Cancer. Like, you think about standing on the ocean and you think about when the waves crash against you, like that's what I picture it. Like, during my waves, I would like close my eyes. I would like see this water crashing. And while my body was going through these weird changes, because it actually gets really cool because you can like see the baby like moving and stuff during that
Uh-huh.
time, my mind was at peace. And like me and my husband's word, so his code word to me was relax. So like when he would see me tense up, or like even like if my face got tight, he would like touch my face and say like relax. He would touch my feet like relax. And that was a sign for me to fully let my body just like slump and relax.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we learn is that pain comes from um, tension, right?
Yeah.
The more tense your body is, the more likely you are to experience pain. When you experience pain, then your body is likely to be tense the next time. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just like this cycle that you can't get out of. Um,
Right.
but him telling me to relax, and my personal word was peace. And so like when I would have the pressure, because it was pressure for sure, like
Yeah.
not pain, but like pressure, I was like, okay, peace, peace. And I would just like say it over and over and over again until like
Okay.
it subsided. So, be thoughtful too about like, okay, what am I saying to myself? What words am I saying to myself? A really good research is the supernatural childbirth. It's like
Okay.
it's like maybe 50 pages, maybe. It's a
Okay.
book. You have to order it on Amazon. It's super old. It'll change your world.
Because
That's when that's
what
when
I
I knew.
reading Ina May's Guide to Childbirth or something
Uh-huh.
like that. That's what I've been reading. Where you said supernatural childbirth.
Supernatural childbirth. Girl, I read it in 2 days. And then I was like, babe, you got to get this book. You can't even have mine. You got to get your own book because it really talks about the extension of faith in this space. And it talks about changing your words. It talks about the scriptures where God has already promised you can have a painless childbirth. And so it really helps you to grab hold of like these promises that we really don't talk a lot about. One of the things I love that she talks about is that your mind, just like your mind can allow you to have a painless birth, your mind can talk you out of it too. And so really like, how do I keep my mind focused and stayed on God in a way? So fast forward, I have the baby. The next day my midwife comes over and we're talking about it. And like the pictures are so funny because there was one point during my birthing time where like my face is visibly like, because the baby, like you can feel the baby moving out of the canal. And I'm like, what is this? What's happening? She was like, oh, that's the baby coming. And like, you know, people talk about like the ring of fire and all that. Like, I ain't have none of that. Like, the devil is a lie. No, no. Like, and I prayed specifically about that. I was like, Lord, whatever this ring of fire is, I don't want to experience that. Did not have that. Did not experience that. So like my baby was coming even when I didn't realize that she was coming. Like her head was like, I was like, oh, it's happening. So I got like panicked a little bit because I was like, wait, this is a little bit easier than I thought. Like, I don't know what's happening, but my body is like, I felt out of control because whatever. And the pictures are like my midwife, like she came and she put her hand on my chest. She's like, Catherine, just breathe. I was like, okay, I can do that. I can breathe. And like, I pushed, I think once. So I say I pushed twice. My midwife says I pushed once. We argue about this all the time. But nevertheless, and my push, again, like doing mom-led pushing was really beneficial. Like they never told me to push, not one single time. It was like because Sierra, you'll know, your body will tell you, and not a second before it, because your body really does it. Like you can't even hold the baby in if you want. Like you can't stop it. Like it's happening. And so there was one point where I was like, oh, my baby's head is like right there. Let me help and so then I pushed, and then like I was like, whoa, okay.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I asked the midwife. I was like, look, I ain't never done this before. Like, I need a coach. Like,
yeah.
She's like, no, I'm not gonna tell you. She was like, trust me, you're gonna know. But I love what you said about it. I was like, even if you wanted to hold it in, you can't.
No. Your body gonna have that baby, okay? And that's the beauty of, I think that's the freedom and the beauty of having an experience. And I think some doctors are probably fully on board with that, right? Just probably a lot less, you know what I mean? And so, but that was the beauty for us of having this midwife and having these experiences at home and in our own comfort, because I just birthed on my own terms. You know, I just let my body do what it was made to do. And after the baby was born, like the placenta, actually my placenta didn't detach right away. And so, you know, where I think I could have been panicked about that, I wasn't. Like I was like, peace, you know what I mean? Like it's fine. Like things are fine. And I say it now, I'm like, hospitals are for emergencies, and having a baby is not an emergency for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some people it is, and I respect that. But also to know too that while your midwife can't give you an epidural, they do carry certain medicines in the case it's necessary. So for example, I did get a shot of Pitocin after my baby was born, because Pitocin allows the body to contract, right, and it allows the blood to stop. And I needed help getting my placenta out. So I did get a shot of Pitocin afterwards. And so again, like I'm not like anti-medicine. I'm just anti-unnecessary stuff in the process. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I do have some I got some birthing affirmation cards. And so like I said, now it's been all about, like I said, trying to prepare my mental space. And I've been doing some exercises with ice or whatnot to, you know, simulate waves and stuff like that. But I really like what you touched on about basically having certain words that are off the limits, because it can really make a difference. So I really like that. And I got that book in my cart now, so it'll be.
You should get it. It changed the game for me, because I knew it was possible, but I had never, the way she explains it and walks through it, I'm like, oh, not only do I know, because I mean, I knew it was possible because God is God, right? But it was like, I didn't know what scriptures to put to that. Like, I didn't know what to, so like a lot of my affirmations were scriptures. Like, I'm like, because the way I am, this sounds so bad, like, I never fully believed in affirmations, honestly, before pregnancy. Like, that's not my thing, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I'm so literal sometimes. I'm like, what I do believe is the word of God. And so if the word of God says this, then I can speak that and believe that, you know what I mean? And so I really, a lot of my affirmations turned into scriptures. And so even the cards that I designed, a lot of them have scriptural undertones, even though they're not scriptures on the card, you know what I mean? Like, I believe that all things will work together for the good. I believe that, you know what I mean? And really holding those things true can just make a huge difference. And I made my husband get into it too. Cause I was like, listen, I believe for me, I need somebody to be touching and agreeing. I need you to be believing for me. But one of the things she says in the book that always stuck with me is that like nobody can believe your miracle for you but you. Like
Mm-hmm.
another person's beliefs will only take yours so far, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
No, you're right, and that's why I think I got to do better about that because my doula believed in that. Because like my doula, she's been doing this for God knows how long. Hell, she
Yeah.
even did an unassisted birth of her, her own child. Or
Wow.
um, one last thing that I want to touch on
Yeah.
is, did you talk to people about like at what point in your pregnancy did you decide, all right, we're gonna do this home birth? And also, did you talk to, family and friends about it? And how was that for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I personally had decided pretty early on. Remember that I told you my husband wasn't on board, so that was kind of a thing that we had to get with it. I remember telling my parents, and I remember my mom not really, and both of them really weren't on board. But my mom was more vocal about it than my dad. My dad is the kind that be like, tell my mom, and then my mom tell me, well, he don't want you to do it either. And here's the thing, like, I get it. They are parents, and they didn't have like they hadn't done the research like I had, and they didn't really understand, and it was different, right? Like again, when you've been exposed to one thing for so long, then something different can be scary and unknown, and their only goal is to make sure that I am well and that their
Yeah.
grandchild is well. And so they struggled a little bit with it. I even remember, I remember trying to ease them into it and then getting to know it, being like, look, I don't know how to explain this to y'all because this is what we gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I did. I told them like I don't really want to talk negatively about this, and like this is our choice, and we get to make this choice. And like, sorry if you don't agree. Like I don't really
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean? And I there were maybe a couple of others where I was like, yeah, I don't really have to explain this to you because I was very intentional on like protecting my peace and my space,
Yeah.
and even remember the words that I said were important, but also the words that people said to me were important. And so I got to the point where I'm like, I can't stop you from saying negative things, but I can't stop talking to you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can't just not talk to you and then I won't have to hear it. And so, because I didn't need to justify my decision over and over. That wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
Once me and my husband were sold, I think even like maybe on his side of the family too, people were like, oh, okay. People really struggle to grapple with it. So to be more specific, I can't really remember when we told people, but I do remember there was a lot of resistance, and that's kind of a common trend. I have some other friends who have birthed at home, and that was something they experienced too. And so, part of my recommendation now, hindsight 2020, is to like uh, to not feel like you need to justify your choice.
Yeah.
Just share in a way that like, hey, I love you guys, and so I want to share with you. And almost in that same space, it's like, I know that I've had time to process this and think about this, and I feel very resolute. You have not. Here are some resources should you decide you're more interested in why I've made this decision,
Yeah.
right? Like and having that prepared so that like you don't have to get into the space of needing to talk them through that.
Yeah, so I mentioned it to my mom once and she's like, "What?" And then it doesn't help when you have people who are in the healthcare field. And I know
Same.
I did a poll on Instagram. Not really a poll, but I was just
Yeah.
asking people, what are your thoughts? And so I have one friend who she's a doctor and she's like, "Well, I've seen them all go I see what goes wrong when people are transferred." And then of course I'm like, "Well, what about the ones that go right?"
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much at a place where, well, for one, my parents already know, especially my mom. It's like, this child got her mind made up. Like,
Same.
it
Yeah.
ain't no point in me talking to her because
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, like, I don't need you to agree with me. I've been on my own for quite some time
Very long
now.
time.
You
Yep.
know, like, it really, like, it does not matter what you say or whatnot. But I think I'm at a place where, I mean, for one, pretty far along now. And it's just like, it's no point in me going back and forth with people who I know aren't going to support my decision, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you're not paying these bills. you,
Not.
so, but no,
And
I
nobody
want,
has to experience it but you. I think at the end of the day, you have to choose your own experience because nobody, and that's what me and my husband, when he finally understood that is when he kind of relented because I was like, sweetie, like no one has to be responsible for having a baby, responsible, even thinking about like, I have my own fears about, am I going to make it through this pregnancy, right? Like those are things that come up, like in the weight of all of those things, it's like the least I need in this situation is to choose where I am to feel that I can be in a space where I'm comfortable and all those different things. And nobody else has to experience that but you. And so being thoughtful about the fact that like, no, this is what I'm choosing for me for these reasons. But
mhm.
same to you, like my parents knew like, Catherine will do what you want to do. Like that's just how it's gonna break down. But I wanted to be like respectful of them. And so I tried to like send them little resources and I'm like, look, get with it. Like here's why. And Sierra, I promise you, if I could do it over tomorrow, when we do it, when we get the
Yeah,
opportunity, if we get the opportunity, I'm having a baby, the second baby right here in this house. I mean, because it was the most amazing thing to have this baby, to get up, to wash off in the shower, to get in my bed, to cuddle with my husband and baby, all these people around us supporting. It was just, even now I think about, I cannot wait to tell her, like, this room you be playing in all the time, you were born right there. You know what I mean? And just like the
yeah,
story of our home together and like the, it, I don't know. I would do it all over again. I
that
really
is that is so oh, that is so awesome. Like that, oh, I love the even what you said about like just sharing your experience about, at one point how you and your husband took a shower together to get the oxytocin
would.
going and stuff
Yeah.
like. Because I told my doula, I said, I'm telling you right now, I know what I'm gonna need to get me through. And I was like, and so that's just
Yeah.
so awesome. And it's like all the things that you can't do in a hospital.
Yeah.
So I'm excited once we get out this call to go and talk to my husband.
Yay.
But
Yeah.
I think with me, like my husband, he's very like he hasn't missed an appointment, anything. Anytime I'm not feeling well, he's like,
So
"Up, I'm
dope.
late or I'm going
Yes,
home."
black man.
But I wanted the decision to be. I wanted him to be not like my husband. He's like, "You're the one that got to do the pushing. You're the
But
one
you
that
wanted him to be a part of
I
that.
want you to be." He's all he's
Same.
worried about. I want you to be comfortable. And I'm like, but I want you to be a part of this
That's how
process.
I felt too. Yep.
So, um, oh my God, this was what I need. This was what
Oh,
I
yeah.
needed. Because like I say, the midwife, I contacted, let's see, today is Wednesday. On Monday, I contacted her. I was like, hey, what do I need to do to move forward? And
Yep.
she sent me all the documents. And I had kind of been holding off or whatnot. And now, so I'm like, all right, we're going to look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
We got, whew, I guess 9 weeks, but I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm just like, look, whenever you're ready.
Right. If you're ready today, come out today. Yeah. No, it's gonna fly by. I promise it will. I remember those last several weeks because everybody always like 9 months. It's like no, 40 weeks and 9 months. They don't sound the same. And that
Mhm.
last stretch is tough because you're just like I'm waiting. But I really tried to focus on me and my husband. We were like joined at the hip most of my pregnancy anyway, which sounds like you guys have probably been too late. And we just enjoyed those last few weeks, friend. Like just enjoy each other. I mean, literally, I went into my birthing time with us sitting on the couch. We tried to have a date night, but my waves had started. I was like, I just want to. So we were like watching a movie, cuddled up, having dinner, and that's how it started. The oxytocin girl, like be real. So, really just like enjoy each other so much. Enjoy sleeping in on Saturdays. Like,
Mhm.
I used to count down. I'm like, oh, only 5 more Saturdays until, you know what I mean? 5 more Saturdays I get to sleep in and then really praying for surrender and patience during that time. Like praying for like Lord, help me to be patient with this process because again, for me, my pregnancy experience was so much more about like my faith journey with God. I realized that in hindsight, I'm like, I get it. This wasn't even about the baby. This was about me and you, Jesus. Totally get it. Totally get it. You know, and just, and coming into motherhood, right? And coming into like what they call the fourth trimester, like those
Yeah.
first 3 months after baby. Um, for me, they were rough, but not for similar reasons as other people. Like baby staying up all night, like that stuff didn't bother me, you know, but just like really like bonding with baby. And it's so surreal. And I was a little bit detached, trying to kind of figure that all out.
Yeah.
That 3rd month, though, I was like, oh, this is my girl, you know what I mean? But like those first 2 months, it was really cool, but it never felt real.
Yeah.
But I remembered, you know, those prayers that I had during those final weeks, and like, all right, Lord, like me and you, me and you. And so that's kind of what it continued during those first 2 months after. And, you know, if you would allow me to give you this advice, like if you're going to have people come over, like afterwards, I don't know if your parents are coming to town, whatever, I would strongly advise you and your husband to think about what tasks and activities can we give them to do. So we actually did an intentional exercise with our doula about the 4th trimester, and activities for his mom when she came and activities for my parents when they came. Life changing. Because what happens is people come to visit you and they want to hold your baby, but the truth is you want to hold your baby. You want to
Yes.
be with your baby. And so, but they also just want to be helpful, and they think that holding your baby is helpful because they think that you want to break. And the truth is I don't want to break because I've been with this baby for 9 months and I finally get to see her. I actually just want to spend time with her. And so creating like list of things for them to do for you makes
Mm-hmm.
them feel useful, and also kind of keeps it where you know what I mean, where you're not like, it makes it less awkward to, I don't know, because your
It's
parents are kind of trying to like get out the way, but you know what I mean. So
yeah. It's funny that you say that because I went, I think it was last week. I was telling my husband, I was like, I know this sounds selfish, but I'm sick of people calling my baby their baby.
mhm,
And
yeah,
um,
it's real.
it was like, and I know that they don't mean any harm
No,
by it, but I'm like, no, this is the
that's your protected mama juices starting to wake up, and you're like, this is my baby. I gotta take it. I mean, it's so cool how it happens though. Like it starts to happen, and then you just wait until that baby comes, and it just like it's just a whole nother level, and it's so dope and so cool, and it's amazing. And again, assigning things for people to do, making sure you know what's going to help you. Like one of the exercises we went through was our postpartum doula had asked us, okay, Catherine, like how do you cope with stress? Like what makes you feel like, what do you need in stress? And so we like wrote that down, and it's like, okay, so when people are over here and if I feel stressed, here's what we do. Like really just having like a thought process around it. And also so that my husband can be watchful and mindful of like, is she okay? Is she really okay? Is she faking that she's okay? You know, like what does
yeah.
that look like? And you know, I had like this big crying episode right after baby was born. Like, and I do not cry. Like this was the first time my husband ever saw me cry in our entire marriage. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'm not generally a crier, but we didn't hire her per se, but she was a recommendation from someone else, and super sweet, super amazing. But her style and my style were a little bit different, and so during some of her attempts to help me, it was very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, girl, it broke me all the way down. I was like, this is too much. And so even like knowing and helping your husband to know like how to care for you in those moments and like what you
Yeah.
need. Again, me and my husband, we've been ride or die, like it's my boo. But those are things that because we had talked about them previously, when they started to manifest or happen, we kind of had a game plan. He knew, you know, so we immediately called my midwife, right? He called my midwife and she and I talked. I'm just like crying. We're on the phone. She's like, okay, I'm gonna come over in the morning. And like she came over the next morning and just sat with me at like 5 a.m. with the baby. And I breastfed and she talked to me. So really thinking about what sort of things can I be proactive about, um, to safeguard my heart, my mental space, and also to be communicative with my husband around
Yeah.
emotions that I'm not even gonna understand. You know what I mean?
How
Um,
after, did you have people over? And the reason why I asked, so I know my doula, she asked me this a couple days ago, because I'll tell you right now, my mom is like kind of butthurt that I'm like, no, you're not gonna be here.
Yeah.
So my husband, he's active duty military as well. He only gets 14 days of maternity leave upon having the baby.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I've been in the service now for 11 years. This is my first time. Like I say, I've been in California 2 years. This is my first time being in continental U.S. So I'm used to being far, far away.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much was like, well, we have intentions to go back overseas, you know? And I'm like, if we were overseas, you guys probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I've been like very like, you know, I wanted this to be very intimate for me and my family, which is my husband and I, and now our soon to baby son, you know? And so, but I did tell my mom, I said, I think it would be more helpful for me if you come after those 2 weeks when he has to go back to work.
Perfect.
And my mother-in-law, she's actually coming out in December, but she's actually moving in to help with childcare, because it's like a long wait list for childcare. And obviously with COVID going on, like COVID just brought another.
It was a whole vibe.
That no one was prepared for. So we're trying to navigate through that or whatnot. But you know, I know people it's just crazy how, and I know that people don't mean harm by it, but you know, people get real entitled about your pregnancy,
your decisions,
and they feel that, oh, I'm coming to the hospital, and oh, I'm coming over after, and I'm like, So, but I know the midwife, she did ask, she's like, well, what does your village look like? Who's gonna come and cook for you guys? And my husband's the type of like, we've been doing this on our own, like, you know, obviously, yes, we do have our village and, you know, our military family and stuff here, but at the end of the day, say no one was here, guess what? We have to get it done. That's how my husband, he operates in that mental space.
Military,
So, yeah.
Well, and that's, I mean, I think, so it's both and, because we're kind of the same way. Like, we live in Texas. We don't really have, we have my uncle and aunt stays here, but in terms of people who, like, really come over to help with baby and stuff, like, my best friends stay here and they all come over, but we really don't have anyone else here. Like, our parents, his parents are in, his mom is in Indiana. My parents are in Tennessee. So it's just us. And so it's a balance. So I completely agree. Look, those first weeks, just you and him and baby. Like, we had the first 2 nights together, just us. And then my parents actually came like the weekend. And so they were here baby's first like week of life.
Okay.
Which I appreciate. I love that they could be here for that time just because they stay far. If I could do it again, I probably would have had them come a little bit later, more so because I was more relaxed in my role, and I would have like let them spend more time with baby because I was just soaking her all up myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like I wish I would have let them hold her more, but I just wanted to hold her myself. So like that kind of thing. So, you know, I loved having them here for me, but for them to bond with her, I was like, oh shoot, like if they would have came like a week or two later when I really needed the relief, I probably would have handed her off way more and they could have bonded with her more. And here's what I'd say, like, you're right. If you guys were overseas, you would not have help, right? You just wouldn't. But you're not. You're not overseas. And so really thinking about how can we both like honor our space as a couple while also, because one of the things people don't talk about that I struggled with mentally was, oh no, I never prepared myself to help them be good grandparents. Like I didn't think about that. Like I didn't think about the fact that this is new for them and they're excited about it. And it's more than about me becoming a mom. It's about them becoming grandparents. And how do I become instrumental in creating that bond? Because I love my grandparents. I was obsessed with my grandparents, you know what I mean? And so, and I want my daughter to feel the same and have the same experiences and, you know, to be with her granny and Papa and Mimi too. And so I wish that I would have been more thoughtful about that.
Okay.
But I've become super thoughtful about it now, and when we literally talk to people every single day, and so really being thoughtful about, okay, how can I like loosen the reins a little bit so that other people can feel like they can come and help. And then you got 9 weeks. So what I would also recommend is that you can figure out how to have your meals provided for the next 3 months. That's what I would say. I'd say, like, because we did for our baby shower, we did like a food fund that people paid into. We got gift cards for food. Friends, I mean, literally, we have friends like bringing in food all the time. But like, when your friends want to know, oh, this is also one of the things. When your friends want to know how they can help you, like, this is a perfect time for you and husband to come up with a list for how friends can help you. Say like,
Okay.
hey, we really need our laundry done. Like, do you mind dropping laundry? I mean, just, and I know it sounds like, whoa, this is weird, but people really do want to help and they don't
Yeah.
know how. So what ends up happening is they do stuff that really doesn't help you, but that makes them feel good. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
you want to help me? Hey, we really need dinner tonight. Like, do you mind like ordering Grubhub? Like, absolutely. You know what I mean? People just need to know a way to help you. Laundry is a way. Like, hey, like, we're not getting our, and then COVID obviously is a whole nother vibe. It's like, hey, like, we didn't get an opportunity to do laundry, etc. Like, are there any services that you could recommend and like have them pick up, drop? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm making up stuff,
Yeah.
but thinking about that kind of stuff would be really good for you. Like, one of my cousins, Clutch, like, she brought me the pins, and she brought me like the tux pads, which are like,
Mhm.
hey, like, I need some more tux pads or whatever that looks like. So really thinking through that part will save you a lot of on the back end.
Yeah. Back in once baby's already here. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's a lot to think about and
Girl, listen.
take in.
I hope I didn't overwhelm you, friend.
No, you didn't. You absolutely did not. Like
Okay.
looking at some registries and stuff, and I'm like, because I just last week I had started to ask people, is it really important for me to start like freezing meals? Like, what can I make that I can
Mhm.
put in the freezer and stuff like that? You know. So no,
Yeah, if you
like
have the energy to do it, girl. Like, if you got the energy, and if you don't, I mean, I'm not a cooker, so I was all about this, like, hey, here's what we like to eat. I like Zoe's, I like this, I like this.
yeah,
Especially if you intend to breastfeed, you'll need food to produce. You have to eat
yeah,
to produce. And I didn't even want to eat, but it's like, oh, I gotta eat so that milk comes.
yeah. That's how I feel now. Shoot, it's like I don't feel like eating, but I know I'm eating for two.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely I got you there, and I plan to breastfeed and stuff. But I'll tell you, I took the entire week off because I just wanted to rest.
Good
My
for you.
only goal this week is to order my breast pump.
That's it.
That's the only goal I have this
That's all
week.
you need. One
So,
thing, 1 week. Hey, I'm here for it.
so
Girl,
yeah,
people were talking about, oh, I got these cleaning services. I'm like, I ain't got all that. I'm just, I
yeah.
didn't get that cleaning spirit. I called somebody and had them to tidy up the house. It's like, I ain't get that.
So at how far along? How many weeks for you when you had her?
39.
Okay, okay, all
Yep,
right.
right, right. 3 more days would have been 40.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna I'm gonna ride this thing out and
ride it out, girl. Enjoy every moment of it. It's fun. I mean, I know it's tough because you're tired and all that stuff, but um, it's fun. Let me say, it can be fun.
yeah.
Relaxing my mind was the biggest thing, though, not to be too anxious. And the Bible says, "Be anxious for nothing."
Yeah, no,
And so
you're absolutely right. So
focus on
that's
that.
where I'm at now. Like I said, my main focus now is honestly preparing my mental space or whatnot. And the fact that you said, like you said, you wanted this experience to be fun, and like you say, nobody ever heard of. So now I'm literally sitting here thinking, what comedy shows do I want to watch?
What could make
Wow.
this fun? Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah, like, and here's the thing too. I'll end with this in terms of advice. Is like, when you think about having a good birth experience. When I thought about it, it wasn't that everything went perfect. That wasn't what was going to be good for me. What was going to be good for me was that I felt the peace of God, was that I had a healthy baby girl, was that I was healthy, and was that me and my husband were really happy and we had a beautiful story. That's all I wanted. And what that meant for me, Sierra, that didn't mean that like we wouldn't have been rushed to the hospital. And we made peace with that. We talked about it. We said, you know what? If we need we literally talked about, okay, at what point is it that we are going to call it and go to the hospital? We talked about it, you know? And so I was never against things happening because life happens. I was just determined to have peace regardless of what happened. That was my goal. It's like, I will have peace regardless of what happens, and this will not be complicated, and this will be painless. You know what I mean? Like, and so I want you to be thoughtful about even being flexible with yourself about what you want, and not to say flexible to say like, oh, I want to weigh out and it won't happen. No. But just to say like, I can have peace even when things are crazy around me. You know what I mean? I can have peace even if it doesn't go according to my exact plan. You know, I told you the placenta thing because that wasn't a part of my plan.
Yeah.
But it was a peaceful situation. I mean, even that was fine. I was like, all right, we're good. You know what I mean? And just being thoughtful about it doesn't need to go the way that I want it to go for it to be peaceful and amazing, right?
Understood.
And so, like, I surrender to this process. I surrender to what my body wants to do, and I am determined to go with the flow, and it's gonna be fine. You know?
Okay. Sounds good. Well,
You
thank you
got this,
so
mama.
much. I enjoyed this entire
Me
conversation.
too. And now that I got your number, I'm gonna be texting you and checking on you. Let me
Please.
know. Let me know how you are for real. Don't give me that girl, I'm fine. No, like I'm gonna be like, no, how are you for real, for real?
No, I appreciate it. Well, you
All
have
right, girl.
a honey.
You too. Enjoy your evening.
All right.
Bye,
Nice
girl.
talking. Bye bye.